Welcome, my name is Stacey Leanne. I love makeup, I love true crime, and I am a huge horror fan. So if that does sound like you, please give me a subscribe, turn on your notifications, and I will upload every single week on a Saturday. This is exciting. The first episode of my series, Horror Movies Inspired by True Crime. The Gainesville Ripper, which inspired fan favourite Scream, and it is only right that I go in with my Glamlight Ghostface palette. Everything I use will be linked down below. Let's get into it. Danny Harold Rowling was born on the 26th of May 1954. He was a Gemini, this will come up later. Two parents, James and Claudia, and one brother, Kevin. In Shreveport, Louisiana. James Rowling was a Korean War vet in the US Navy. And then a Shreveport, I'm saying that right, Shreveport police officer. He consistently abused his wife and sons, and he would fly off the handle over frivolous things. In one particular incident, Claudia, she actually went to the hospital claiming James attempted to force her to use a razor blade and cut up her arms, but unfortunately she did return to him every time. Danny, he really struggled in school. He failed the 3rd grade so many times, which ended up sending him to the school counsellor. They described Danny as having suffering an inferiority complex with aggressive tendencies and poor impulse control. By the age of 11, Danny started drinking alcohol and taking drugs, which only worsened his mental health. Now, as a young adult, Rowling was arrested several times for robbery. In one instance, he was caught looking into the window of a neighbour, watching her get undressed. Gross. And later, he would struggle to hold down a job, so he actually ended up in the Air Force. He was eventually kicked out for drug possession. He then went to go and live with his grandfather, and he started to attend church. Rowlings did actually marry, and they had a daughter, and it finally seemed like he had quite a stable life. Unfortunately, he started acting with the exact same behaviour of his own childhood, and at the age of 23, after 4 years of marriage, him and his wife did actually separate, and that just fueled Danny's anger. So the rise of the Gainesville Ripper. In May of 1990, Danny broke into his childhood home and he actually shot his 58-year-old father twice. I don't condone violence, but I think that's the least he probably deserved, you know. James, he did survive the injuries, but he did lose an ear and an eye. Rowling did flee Shreveport, changing his identity with papers he had stolen from one of his burglaries, that's it, and he headed to Sarasota, Florida to start a new life as Michael Kennedy Jr. August the 24th, Rowling had set up a campsite in a wooded area behind the University of Florida. So the first two victims, Sonia Larson and Christina Powell, oh that's pretty, they were both freshmen and they were attending the university. Now, Rowling, he spotted the girls and followed them all the way home. Rowling broke into the girls' apartment and overpowered them. Now, at 6'2", he was a big dude. Rowling covered both the girls' hands and mouths with duct tape. He then bound their hands behind their back. I really like that, that's really pretty. he brutally stabbed and raped both girls. He even went as far as to take a trophy from the girls' bodies. The following day, the Santa Fe Community College student Christina Holt would become his next victim. Now, in much the same manner... Hang on, I can't talk and do this. I'll be right back. In much of the same manner as the day before, Rawlings broke into Hoyt's residence, leaving her body posed with her severed head on the shelf facing her body. Now, on August the 27th, Rawlings, he surfaced again at the home of the two 23-year-old UF students, Manuel Tobado, I'm so sorry, and Tracy Paws. Manny, he put up quite a fight, which gave Tracy the opportunity to run to her room and barricade herself in, but unfortunately neither of them were a match for Rawlings. This time neither body was mutilated as like his previous victims. It's thought that because there was so much commotion, he was in fear of being caught, because he would want that, right? So these murders, they all occurred less than 2 miles from each other. The university did actually cancel all its classes for the week, but by the end of August, thousands of students had left. It says about 700 never actually returned to the university. So Rawlings' father, he was a 20-year veteran cop. And not only had he taught his son to take abuse, he also taught him how to cover it up. There just wasn't enough evidence at the crime scenes to implicate anybody. Rawlings removed all duct tape from his victims, disposing of it in dumpsters. He also used cleaning solvents to remove any trace DNA. Now, Rawlings, he skipped town. A local task force was assembled to calm a frantic community. Authorities did zero in on one suspect, a UF student who kind of displayed erratic behaviour. So in September, Rawlings actually robbed a Winn-Dixie. What is a Winn-Dixie? What is it? I'm going to have to Google this. Side note, London copyright lashes are just... I love them. So in January 1991, 4 months after the murders, authorities were able to link Rawlings' DNA from an extracted tooth to a piece of evidence at one of the crime scenes. Got him. So Rawlings was in fact formally charged with the murders of the 5 Gainesville students in June 1992. Rawlings claimed to have been driven by an alternate personality named Gemini. See? Before his trial could get underway, Rawlings unexpectedly pleaded guilty to all charges. So to determine his sentence, jurors listened to a testimony from his mother, who recounted the abuse the defendant had received at the hands of his father. 2 psychiatrists testified that Rawlings had been diagnosed with a severe personality disorder, antisocial personality disorder, borderline personality disorder, and paraphilia, and I'll put what that means here. I mean, it's just so awful. Maybe if he had received the help he needed, this, wouldn't have happened. So on April 20th, 1994, Danny Rawlings was sentenced to death. His last meal was lobster tail. He sang a gospel hymn. He made no statement before his execution, which was witnessed by many of the victims' relatives. Danny was executed at Florida State Prison by lethal injection on the 25th of October 2006. After many appeals, the US Supreme Court rejected his last-ditch attempt. He was pronounced dead at 6:13. I hope the families did find a small bit of peace just going to the execution, but how do you even get past something like this? Rowling's deserved to pay for his crimes. Mental health, childhood trauma aside, it will never excuse what he did. Side note, right, Rowling's, he actually got engaged in prison to a journalist who helped him put together this book, The Making of a Serial Killer, and it just blows your mind. Like, you find out all the terrible things this guy does, and she's like, yeah, need me some of that. Definitely husband material. Anyway, that is the story of the Gainesville Ripper, which inspired an iconic Scream franchise. Thank you if you got this far. This is my first video. We're still working things out, so I really appreciate any support, and I will see you in the next one.